Hey, what's going on guys? Jolts here, back with another video, and we just got a ton more information for the Tiny Tina's Wonderlands endgame. So if you don't like spoilers, click off the video, and I'll give you a few seconds to do that. Alright, that should do. So right off the bat, I'm gonna say it, there's no gameplay for this, it's only word of mouth. Over on Twitch, Gearbox had a live stream in which they had some guests on, and the two guests were Kent Rochfort, who is the lead game designer, as well as Matt Cox, who is also the creative director for the game. These guys spilled a lot of information for us over the endgame, so let's go over that now. First off, if you didn't see my video about the Chaos Chamber coverage, I will link it in the description below. And in that video, I did question if we're going to get legendaries out of the bunnies at the end of the chamber. Yes, you can. In the gameplay footage that was shown, I think that Kent was playing at a lower difficulty, so if you play at a decent difficulty, you should be seeing legendaries. Now this next part is actually pretty exciting. As you might have heard in one of my previous videos, when you're on the Overworld, there are random enemies that can pop up and take you into battle. Think of it like a JRPG, you know, you're running around in tall grass, Pokemon, whatever, and you find a battle. The same thing can happen in Wonderlands on the Overworld. Now the cool thing here is, Matt actually said you will seamlessly load into the combat encounter. Yeah, seamless, no load screens, no waiting around, you're just in that combat. Keep in mind you can avoid the encounter if you slash at the enemy on the Overworld, but if you want to go into the combat for a reward, you can seamlessly do that. Also on the Overworld, you might have seen it in the previous trailers, but there's some bottle caps laying around, and the bottle caps are going to be your shortcuts for getting around the Overworld a lot faster. So the bottle cap teleporting is going to be a huge part of your travel. Now, to my understanding, we can still fast travel from map to map like we could in Borderlands 3, but when it comes to the Overworld, the bottle caps are going to be how you want to get around. Next up, Matt does mention some big news about the Chaos Chambers. There's going to be 3 very big, very strong hidden bosses in the Chaos Chamber. In order to actually get to one, you need to complete a hidden puzzle, and at the very end of the Chaos Chamber, you can kind of veer off and take on this giant boss. Matt does mention one of them were shown in the trailer, and I'm assuming it's this giant, maybe Frankenstein-looking boss, but he didn't actually pinpoint which boss it is. Matt does tease it's going to be a very strong, very hard boss, but he did not directly label these as invincibles. So it is entirely possible it might not have invincible attached to the name, but they will still be a very strong, complex, elaborate mechanical boss that you have to learn how to dodge and, you know, all that kind of stuff. Sounds pretty exciting. Matt was pretty vague on the information he provided for these giant bosses, and he says the reason for that is because he wants to keep it more hidden and have the players discover it on release day. Makes sense. Keep in mind the Chaos Chambers are something that are going to be in the base game, so you don't have to buy this. So on release day, you're going to have this in your game, and you can take on these giant bosses. Now for the information we have been waiting for, and that is the Chaos levels. This is going to be your quote-unquote OP levels or Mayhem levels for this game, and the way you're going to earn these are by turning on the Chaos run for the Chaos Chamber, and when you complete a Chaos Chamber run, you get 1 Chaos level. Then you can open a menu and adjust your Chaos level there. Now Matt does say there's going to be a total of 20 Chaos levels on release day, and there could be plans in the future to increase that even higher. Obviously, as you go through the Chaos levels 1, 2, 3, it's going to get harder and harder and harder, but the payout is going to be a lot better too. So what is the reason for pushing these Chaos levels? Well, Matt mentions once you get far enough into Chaos levels, you're going to start finding Chaos tier on your gear, and the official name for these items are going to be called Chaotix. So you're going to start finding chaotic guns, chaotic spells, melee weapons, I assume. It's going to get crazy. Matt also mentions you do not have to farm this Chaos gear every single Chaos level. I'm assuming he knew that was kind of a problem back in Borderlands 2, you know, refarm OP3, refarm OP4, refarm OP5. It was very repetitive and the player base did not really like that. Instead, these Chaotix are going to be very, very strong and keep you going for quite a few Chaos levels. Now, if that's not crazy enough, there's going to be another tier on top of that called Primordials. And Primordial tier drops above Chaos level, and they're going to be even stronger. Now, the big question is, are these going to be like a new rarity or a stat slapped on your gun, or what is it going to be? Well, Matt doesn't really tell us directly, but I'm assuming it's going to be a stat boost on your gun. It sounds very familiar to Anoint, except that it's just going to be a flat boost to your gun. Alright, let's get the big concern out of the way. Are these going to be required for endgame? Probably, but I think this is more of a way to balance out the endgame stuff. As you might recall, back in Borderlands 3, they buffed the items that didn't work for endgame to work for endgame. Upon doing so, they were stupidly and brokenly OP for early game because they buffed up the base stats of the item. So I think what we're seeing here is a way to balance out stuff for endgame without actually breaking it for early game. You just gotta roll the chaotic or the primordial stats on your items. At the moment, we don't know how harshly things are going to scale for later game, but I'm hoping this new system will balance out the endgame and not break anything. As for the final new thing we learned from the livestream, your multi-class actually has a set name in the game. As you know, you can pick between two classes, so Stabomancer and the Berserker, for example. People were naming them the Stabozerker or the Burmancer, but in the game they actually have a set name. The one example that Matt gives us is the Graveborn, and the Clawbringer is known as the Gloombringer. And that's basically it, we just have names set for our characters. Now obviously you can rename your character to whatever you want, but the official multi-class name is set in stone. Anyways, that's going to be it for all the new information we learned today. So let me know below in the comments what you guys think about all this. Are you a fan of the chaos levels or the chaotics? And are you looking forward to these big boss fights? Personally, I think it's a cool idea and I'm really hoping to get the balance right. But again, we'll have to wait and see how that turns out on release day. Anyways, I think that's going to be it. So if you guys did enjoy the video, then please be sure to leave a like because that'd be awesome. And if you guys really enjoyed it and want to see some more Wonderlands videos, then be sure to sub. You guys have a great day and I will see you all later. Peace out.